Welcome to Season 8 of Village's Vitality Life, Seniors Life Unscripted. In this new season, we talk to leaders of clubs and interesting folks who live in and around the villages. We also talk to people who have information vital to seniors. You will get perspectives of what is happening in and around the villages, Florida. In addition, in this new season, we will add more information for all seniors. We are a listener-supported podcast.
This is Mike Roth on Villages Vitality, Senior Life Unscripted. I'm here today with Dr. Sandra Kaufmann. Thanks for joining me, Sandra.
Oh, it is my pleasure to be here.
Dr. Sandra Kaufmann is a global leader in longevity medicine, an impressive scientific background in cellular biology and anesthesiology with a deep commitment to advancing the science of aging. Dr. Kaufmann is best known for her groundbreaking work as an author and creator of the Kaufmann Protocol, a comprehensive framework that systematically categorizes cellular aging and offers strategy to mitigate it. At the heart of this framework is the Kaufmann rating system, a unique methodology that assesses and recommends evidence-based supplements, helping individuals make informed choices to optimize their health span. Two influential books are The Kaufmann Protocol, Why We Age and How to Stop It, and the second book is Aging Solutions. She currently has offices in Miami and in Las Vegas. Dr. Kaufmann, how long has the newer book been out?
3 years.
About 3 years. And what motivated you to create a protocol anti-aging?
I'd love to say that I wanted to help humanity, but to be perfectly frank, I did it because I didn't want to age. I have a background in cell biology. I have a liberal arts education in medicine. I did some surgery. I did some neurosurgery. I'm an anesthesiologist. So I think I'm sitting in a unique position to figure out why our bodies age from a cellular perspective. And I got tired of aging. And I set out, figure it out, categorize it, and then to come up with solutions.
Great. It sounds like it should be a bestseller. Now, let me ask you a few questions about aging. Why do we age?
What's humorous about the question is if you ask 1 million people, they're going to give you 1 million different answers. To me, because I started my scientific world as a cell biologist, I think that you age because your cells age. And your cells are little factories. And I think from a scientific basis, like that's all we are. We are a cluster of cells and cell products. And I don't like to get into arguments about the soul or the reason of being and all the sort of metaphysical stuff. Like from a very solid scientific cellular basis, we are cells and cells become dysfunctional over time. And if you can make some of that dysfunction be better, then you are better off overall.
I was under the impression that as we age, our cells, dendrites at the end, don't reproduce as accurately as they did when we were younger. Is that true?
Yeah. In a very simplistic fashion, that is one of the reasons that cells age. But the reasons are numerous. I categorize them by what I call the 7 tenets of aging. And then there are, of course, very specific subcategories. So there is never going to be one magic bullet because you need to effectively approach all of the different reasons to truly decelerate aging.
Okay. How can we alter the process of aging?
Well, you got to fix
I know
yourself.
we can think young.
No, but honestly, mindset is huge, right? There's a discrete difference between people who have a young frame of reference and an old frame of reference. And I'm sure that every day there are people in their, they're 60 and 70s, and some people are out playing pickleball or tennis or swimming or doing whatever. And other people are just sitting around waiting to die. So mindset is absolutely a huge part of it. But then once you decide that you're going to be active in chasing life, there's just many ways to do it. And one of the things that I do is I design longevity pyramids for people. And these are things that you do every day, every week, every month, so on and so forth. And stuff that's easy to do every day, of course, is optimizing your diet, optimizing exercise. There are longevity supplements. There are longevity medications. And then there's all accessory things you can do, right? Saunas and cold baths and light therapies. So there are innumerable ways to approach this. People can either do one or two simple things, or they can, as I say, fall into the abyss of longevity and do everything.
I think our genes come into play very heavily. And the other thing that I've seen is when people have conditions which cause pain, which hurts their mobility, they tend to age more rapidly. How does someone know where to start the process of trying to control aging?
That's a good question. And I think it very much depends on who the person is. So as an example, if someone is an absolute couch potato, they should just get off the couch. Step one, right? If someone just eats a lot of cake and pie every day, maybe you start by eliminating that simple stuff, right? In terms of medical issues, you want to make sure you are adequately addressing medical issues prior to going into true longevity. And the reason I say this, and it's ironic, I've been an anesthesiologist for a million years, and we have these older patients that come to the hospital, and they're furious that we diagnose them with problems. And I can't tell you how many times I have heard people say, I was fine before I walked into the hospital, and now I have high blood pressure and heart disease and blah, 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 blah. The answer is we didn't give it to them. They had it. They just didn't know it. So the first step is making sure you're taking care of your basic health issues.
Okay, and that would involve having a very good primary care physician. Unfortunately, there are a few of those. Someone start working on their longevity as a goal. Is there an age that it should kick in?
Yeah, you're not going to like this, but people start aging between 30 and 35.
Oh, you're right. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I know. No one does. So, for example, levels of very important components in your body start dropping in your early 30s. Estrogen starts dropping. DHEA starts dropping. Pregnenolone starts dropping. By the time you hit 35, your sirtuins start dropping. And you're like, what the hell is a sirtuin? Pardon my language. But there are pathways in your body that start failing, starting at 35-ish and continuing on. So by the time you hit 40, 45, 50, you are well into the aging process. And unfortunately, people don't realize it until you're behind the 8 ball. On the other hand, I don't want to discourage people from chasing longevity, because even if I can't give you more years, I can give you better years.
Can you give our listeners an example of a supplement that they might take to help the effects of aging?
Oh, gosh, yes. So probably the easiest one for people to take is going to be an NAD precursor. And what is that?
A what?
An NAD precursor. So I'm going to explain this. NAD is a molecule that stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And this is a molecule that is massively needed in your body. You use it for 4 different places in energy production in your mitochondria. And you use it as a cofactor for 500 different reactions in a cell. And you need more as you get older, and you make less. So by the time you're hitting 40, 45, you are deficient, right? And interestingly enough, DNA repair mechanisms, these are mechanisms that help prevent cancer, require NAD. So the easiest, lowest hanging fruit is to replenish your amount of NAD, right? But swallowing NAD doesn't really work very well because there aren't any receptors, and I won't bore you with the details. But you have to take a molecule that your body turns into NAD. And there's 2 essential choices. There's something called NR, which is nicotinamide mononucleotide. And these are just pills that you take every day. And within 2 to 3 weeks of doing this, your energy levels are much improved and your life is just much improved. So that is an absolutely easy slam dunk. Everyone should do it supplement.
What's interesting, because I've never heard of it. Is it a prescription drug?
Nope. completely over the counter.
Oh, that's a big tip. Okay, we're going to take a short break and listen to an Alzheimer's tip from Dr. Craig Curtis. We'll be back in about a minute. There have been some studies that people have talked about using GLP-1 drugs to help Alzheimer's. What's the story on that?
So that was breaking news a few months ago. They released the results that showed it was not a positive study, which means there was no statistical difference between the placebo group and those that received GLP-1s for the length of the trial, which was approximately 2 years. Now, what they did find is that those on the GLP-1s did have trending biomarkers. The levels of tau and amyloid seem to be moving in the right direction. So it's possible they didn't receive the treatment long enough. Maybe a 2-year trial was not enough, sort of what we just referenced in hyperbaric oxygen. Maybe you need it for a longer amount of time.
Yeah, longer than 3 months.
Longer than 3 months. So there's going to be more data released at a big meeting coming up in Copenhagen in March that I'll be attending, called the Alzheimer's PD International Parkinson's Disease International Meeting. And they're going to release more information about the biomarkers in that study and whether or not they will do more. So stay tuned. I don't think they quite have answers yet, but the overall study was a failure if you want to look at it from a totality or the study in full.
Yeah, but the study kind of indicates from what you're saying that they need an additional study to go beyond 2 years.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the Villages community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis. Now, Dr. Kaufmann, you gave us a great tip for a anti-aging supplement. You think there's a reason why most doctors don't prescribe it, or I've never heard of it before?
I like to think of today's medicine in 3 tiers. Tier 1.
What?
Tier 1 is standard Western medicine, where we wait until you get a problem and then we try to fix it, right?
Yeah, break, repair.
We wait till you're diagnosed with high blood pressure and we give you a drug. We wait until you have appendicitis and we take it out. It's very reactive medicine. Tier 2, there's something called functional medicine. And this is where they do more proactive testing and they promote a more healthy lifestyle. And it's extremely good for longevity. But tier 3 is the world in which I live. And tier 3 is longevity medicine. And this is the idea that we know why cells stop working over time. And we prophylactically fix things, right? So that we're not going to wait for you to get a disease. We're going to reduce all relative risk of getting that disease.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that the thing for cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. We know why you get cancer. So if you can prophylax against it, I can't tell you won't get cancer, but I can reduce relative risk of you getting cancer.
Why do we get cancer?
You get cancer because basically it's DNA failure. You're going to love
failure.
Yeah, you're going to love this. Every cell every day has 10 to the 5th DNA errors, right? That's a lot of zeros. 10 to the 5th. And if you don't fix them, your cells don't function. You have 5 DNA repair mechanisms that fail as you get older. They just do. You can upregulate them, but they do, unfortunately. So when a cell has so much DNA damage, it's one of 3 choices. It can either just disappear, die. It's called apoptosis. It can become senescent, which is it's a source of inflammation, or it becomes a cancerous cell. So these number of cells that are cancerous increase over time. And your body has a normal way of getting rid of these. You have your immune system, you have natural killer cells, and they float around your body and they eat up bad cells. So when you're young, you have damaged cells, but you can get rid of them. So it's not a problem. When you get older, you have more damaged cells and less of an ability to clear them out. So your chances of cancer go up, right? So what do? We boost all of those things to prevent or to lower relative risk.
let's take a quick break.
Village's Vitality listeners, I've got some good news for you. In Season 8, most new episodes were released as both audio and video versions. Videos on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, and YouTube. If you're listening via our Buzzsprout feed, you can ask questions via the fan mail button, or leave me comments as a text, or in our new feature, you can send it as a voicemail. If you'd like a response, make sure you leave your name, email address, and cell phone number. Okay, makes sense. A couple of other therapies have been touted as being highly effective. Things like stem cell therapy or medicine with peptides. What's your opinion of those things?
I mentioned earlier that we create longevity pyramids for people. If you're going to go into this, and if you're going to invest in stem cells and peptides, you need to know the basics. And the basics are we optimize cells first, right? If your cell is a factory, your factory is not functioning well, you can yell at it all you want, and it's not going to do what you ask it to. So peptides are amino acid messengers that go to your DNA and tell that cell to make something. But if your factory isn't working, it's not going to do it, right? This is like asking a shoe factory to make Skittles. It just isn't going to do it. But if you fix your cells, then they will. So what I do for my patients is we optimize cells first, and then peptides come into play, because peptides are more like fixing individual problems. So let's say you're pretty well optimized, but you want a little bit of an immune system boost. That's a peptide. Or if you want a little extra muscle growth, that's a peptide. But peptides by themselves are not fantastic for longevity. They're accessories. Stem cells are the same thing. Stem cells can fix a particular problem, but they don't reverse time. Exosomes, which are stem cell products, actually do a significantly better job of reversing time. I'm a huge proponent of exosomes.
What was that last thing you said that worked better than stem cells?
Exosomes. So exo, E-X-O-S-O-M-E, exosome. So these are vesicles, little bubbles that essentially get released from cells, and they contain messages in the form of RNA and cytokinins and chemokines and that sort of thing, growth hormone. And they cause tissues to regenerate and rejuvenate. So if you get these things from perifetal cells, meaning cells that were around baby tissues, so we get them from the umbilical cord, we get them from the placenta of very healthy young ladies, and you can inject them into your cell, and the risk is extraordinarily low. Stem cell risk is pretty high. Exosome risk is quite low. So I inject this into my patients on a monthly to quarterly basis, and people just do extraordinarily well.
Now, are any of these anti-aging procedures covered by traditional Medicare or Advantage plans?
I wish it were, but no, it is not. I'm quite sorry. And some of them can be expensive. On the other hand, some of these things can be not expensive. I actually like to consider longevity medicine as its own internal insurance policy, because by investing in yourself, you're lowering the risk of needing anything more expensive in the future.
What kind of budget should someone set aside for anti-aging?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question. It can be fairly cheap. It can be ungodly expensive. Exercising is fairly cheap, right? Getting your little butt to the gym, and maybe you're paying for a pair of sneakers and some enthusiasm and a cup of coffee. Other hand, exosomes can be expensive. Some of the medications can be expensive. You could fall into the abyss of unbelievable cost.
What kind of results have you had with your patients?
Unbelievable results, truly unbelievable. So we've fixed individual things like shoulder problems, knee problems, thought processes. People's memory has gotten better. People's vision has gotten better. People's skin has gotten better. I've taken people who were sedentary potatoes, and now they're out climbing mountains with their grandkids. If people have the enthusiasm, the world is their oyster.
Is there a doctor in the Villages area that does what you do?
Yes, I could be imported. My office is in Miami, but it's only a couple hours away.
It's a long 5-hour drive.
Find me enough patients and I'll drive up to the Villages.
We have 165,000 seniors here, and they advertise the place as a active senior, and it is very active with 3,500 clubs and activities, and keeps people's minds and bodies busy. A medical perspective, there's a lot of not the best medical care. I find I have to go to Gainesville to see specialists. Now, in your practice, how do you start with patients?
We start just like a normal physician visit. And I do it in person and online. I have a lot of international patients as well. And it starts just you're filling out forms, right? What is your medical history? How old are you? What's your diet? What is your exercise capacity? And just a brief example here, everyone talks about cardiovascular and muscular. And I like to put bone in there as well. Older ladies have issues with osteoporosis, and compressive exercises are extremely important. But anyway, so then we talk about medical issues. Do you have heart disease? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have such and such? What is your family history? If everyone in your family had diabetes, then that's clearly quite important. Everyone in your family has neurologic disease. Clearly, that's important. And then we check standard labs and some specialized longevity labs. And then we come up with protocols. And they're very personalized based on what an individual wants to do. None of this is mandatory. It's all rather elective. So how many pills does somebody want to swallow? How deeply do they want to jump into this pool of longevity?
Yeah, I'm already swallowing way too many pills.
Yeah, compare and contrast. I take 72 supplements a day and 13 pharmaceuticals for diseases I don't have.
How many pills a day do you take?
I take 72 supplements and 13 pharmaceuticals.
Oh, you dwarf me in the number of pills. Next thing you're going to tell me you're 93 years old.
I'm 104. Yes.
Okay, yeah. You don't look it at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm only 102.
See? It's amazing what longevity can do.
And it does run in families, and it does run in diets.
Yes, there's absolutely a genetic component. But I will tell people that you can't rest your laurels on what your parents did. You're not living the life that your parents did. And we're not living the life our grandparents did. The diets were different, their activity levels were different, their environmental inputs are different. So you may have good genes, but you don't have the same culture necessarily, unless you're living on a farm in Sicily. So as an example, like my father is 85, and he lives with his girlfriend who's 85, and they live on her horse farm. And my dad is the stable boy. Twice a day, he's out there for hours, feeding horses, mucking the stalls, carrying feed around, and just the physical activity and breathing healthy air and eating good food. You would think the man was 60. So it is truly amazing what you can do if you choose to do it.
Yeah, not everyone wants to live on a horse farm. But
yeah, that is true. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't want to.
Right.
However, he's in good shape.
That's the important thing. Now, in defining longevity medicine, how would you put that in what you call the third group of medical, okay? And what can people do to get more information, or how do they contact you to maybe become a client of yours?
So, good questions. So I have 2 websites. First one is more about the science behind all of this, and it's called the Kaufmann Protocol. And it's sciencey, but it's not, you don't need a PhD to understand it, certainly. It's pretty common language, but it's science. And it talks about cellular aging, and it talks about my rating system, so people have an idea of how to choose what agents. It's just informational. And so that's KaufmannProtocol.com. And then if people actually want to come see me as a physician, the website is Kaufmann.com. And again, I see people in person and I see people online, and we do exosome therapies and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. And are your books available on Amazon?
Yep. So what's interesting is my work is incredibly scientific. There's a little bit of entertaining fluff, but everything I talk about has a bazillion citations. So it is accurate. The pros of this are that you know that I'm not bullshitting anybody, and pardon my language. On the other hand, it takes forever to write these books. So the first book, I think, came out 6 or 7 years ago. It took me another 3 or 4 to write book 2. And what I've decided since is to release e-chapters because it just takes far too long to get these things written. So in addition to the 2 books that you mentioned, I just released something called Mastering the Mast Cell. And it is what I'm calling, it's an e-treaty. So it's only online or electronic. It's on Amazon. And it talks about how we take care of mast cells because they're one of the contributors to aging. And I will be releasing other e-chapters going forward because they seem to be quite popular. Anyway, there's a lot.
Are you planning on releasing the books as audiobooks?
Not at the moment, no. The production costs are actually fairly high, so I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Are there any questions that I failed to ask you that you'd like to tell our listeners about?
I think that the one thing that I think is incredibly important, people always say, if I do start supplements, where do I start? And I like to mention the most generic place. And it's a program that I call the PANACCEA.
PANACCEA.
And the reason it's called the PANACCEA, it's a panacea, but not entirely. But the letters help define the PANACCEA. And this is a collection of 5 supplements that pretty much anyone can take over the age of 40 that will be absolutely beneficial. And the P stands for something called pterostilbene. And you're going to say, oh my goodness, I've never heard of this. It is an analog of resveratrol. There you go. It's a sirtuin 1-beta. And again, most people don't know what sirtuins are, but it's irrelevant. Sirtuins are on-off switches that help control homeostasis. So pterostilbene is really important. So if you follow PANACCEA, it's astaxanthin. Astaxanthin comes from algae. It's a free radical scavenger. It reduces the risk of coronary disease. It reduces DNA damage, reduces sunburn if you're out in the sun, i.e. in Central Florida, if you're playing golf. It helps vision. It's just the only thing that's counterintuitive to astaxanthin is if you have gout. So that's the only one thing. So PAN. N is your NAD precursor, and we talked about that. And then there's 2 C's. The first C is curcumin. Curcumin is a fantastic natural anti-inflammatory. Problem with it is that it's not very bioavailable, meaning if you just take regular generic grocery store curcumin, nothing's going to happen. So you have to find a bottle that says bioavailable. It actually does something for you. And then the last one is another C, and it's carnosine. And this is a naturally occurring dipeptide, and it helps remove sugar from your body. And it also helps muscles repair better because you're reducing the acid load in exercising. So if you take those 5 things after the age of 40, you will only help yourself. And there it is.
And where would our listeners find these 5 over the counter?
Amazon.
Say again?
Amazon. Yeah. And if anyone wants link suggestions, I think that they are on my website.
Good. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Kaufmann.
My pleasure. This has been lovely. Thank you.
Great. I want to thank you for being on, and I may want to bring you back because you seem like you're a wealth of knowledge.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout-out for supporters Tweet Coleman, Ed Williams, Duane Romick, Paul Sorgan, and Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. The way our show grows is with your help. Text your friends about this show if you enjoyed listening. Use the fan mail button on our homepage, villagesvitality.life, to leave comments. Be sure to include your name, email, and phone number. We thank everyone for listening. The content of the show is copyrighted by Roth Voice 2026, all rights reserved.